All right, so this evening I'm going to talk about the secret to shadow work. The secret that will make it easier for you, that will make it faster, that will make it more efficient, that will make it automatic as an automatic process in you instead of something you necessarily have to like research. And I will say that when you're particularly stuck on something and you really want to be free, the universe will deliver to you videos and books and teachers that will, or friends, right? The universe will give you a message as to a clue of how to get out of something that you really can't see, right? Maybe it's so familiar and so deep in your mind that you need some external kind of, I like to say, one mind, many mouths, right? You need another mouth. God's going to talk to you in another way to try to get your attention. So the secret to shadow work is the light work. And I share a lot about noticing how the ego moves. But I can honestly tell you that I spend no time, with the exception of certain things that like were really hidden from me and were really sticky from my early childhood. Like, I don't read books about the inner child or the shadow or whatever. Instead, I put my emphasis on the light, on meditation, on embodying frequencies of oneness, right? And bringing that to like every cell of my body all the time, right? When I'm walking my dog, and it's like we're always in oneness. That's a fact, but I amplify it. I make it louder. I turn up the volume. I play music that opens my heart. I don't want you to believe either that the heart opening is something that you're going to have to wait at some destined time that it will happen. Like, you can begin to put attention on your heart. You can do heart breathing, breathe into your heart. You can feel your heart while you listen to music. You can feel your heart as you're drifting off to bed. You can use tools, right? Like crystals and oils. Like, I love rose oil and frankincense. I resonate very deeply with Mother Mary and Divine Mother and, certain nurturing female avatars that, and Divine Mother isn't an avatar. Divine Mother is kind of like an aspect straight from the Godhead, right? And they manifest physically sometimes. But, like for me, if I want to anchor the quality of nurture, like the being nurtured, right? Because I know for me personally, my second chakra is a chakra where, it was really almost frozen. It was really shut down. And when it began to open and the content began to be purged from it, like it was physiologically difficult, right? My lower belly was very severely distended for a long time. My digestion was like really adversely affected when this stuff started coming up. So in meditation, I would focus on, the womb of Mother Mary. I would put it on my womb, or I would, smell the rose oil, and I would the rose oil for me just has this amazing feminine vibration, like this quality of embracing love, or just feel my own heart, right? So when you meditate and you really are familiar, you know yourself for sure to be nothingness, or the void, which is actually full of infinite potential, and you feel like infinite potential, like walking as infinite potential. When you walk your dog, are you just kind of like floating in blank, or are you you have the option to put your attention on a frequency that can help you anchor more light in your body, so that when your shadow is moving, it's obvious to you. Because if you think about it, like if you know what love feels like, what fear feels like, and how fear moves will stick out to you. Like, it will stick out to you. Before it was hidden, right? Because you were so familiar with it, but because you've added light, right? Now it's like, oh, now I can see it. Now I can see it. Now I can see it. It's sticking out. Like, because I hang out here, like this is like real obvious to me now, So, and especially in relationship, right? When your usury energy comes up, like when you want to use someone, when you want to withdraw love from someone to punish them, you know, when you cut everybody off, right? Like without closure, or without like having a simple phrase maybe to close the interaction. When you are interacting with human beings, especially intimately, right, or a friendship, and you notice that your actions are coming from fear or reaction, well, it's really much easier to notice that, to feel it, no matter how subtle it is, right? The more light that's in your body, the more light that you're aware of, right? Even on a cellular level, like the more that everything that is not that will stick out to you. So that's like something that I say over and over. The secret to shadow work is light work. It's focusing on frequency, right? If you close your eyes, right? Let's just do it right now. If you close your eyes and you choose anything that you think about, you tune into. So let's just be aware of that, right? So you can close your eyes and you can tune into, if you just tell yourself, if you say the words unconditional love, depending on how familiar or unfamiliar that sensation is to you, you might feel it as a subtle little emanate, a subtle little spark in your heart. You might feel the cells of your body opening up, but try to be aware, like pick a frequency, like unconditional love. Unconditional love, the heart is a perceptual center, right? So when you're interacting with, let's say, your family, even if they triggered you in the past, now that you've done all this contemplation and you know that people just are who they are, and we're all playing roles to walk each other home and everything is perfection, like, so practically what that means for you is like, well, in the moment when you're interacting with someone, if you can feel your heart, right, no matter what's coming up for you, like let's say, you know, you have a very opinionated mother who always thinks that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Naturally, you don't appreciate that, right? So, but you're in her presence right now, and knowing that she is you, right? And she is the divine. You feel your heart, and you might feel your solar plexus get triggered. You might feel your solar plexus get triggered, but because you have a pretty strong, you have an anchor, you have the ability to anchor yourself here. What will happen if you stay in your heart is that feeling in the solar plexus will be drawn up into the heart and almost washed. It's almost like the heart draws up survival energies and purifies them. So, and if it's a trigger that keeps coming up, right, do the process that I always talk about. Well, if you are always triggered by somebody's opinion of you, what must you believe about yourself? Well, on a deep level, you simply don't accept that you are valid as you are, and that basically you're God. Because if you really truly knew that, then you would know that the way your life has played out, the choices that you make, the things that you're attracted to, what you're interested in, everything that's ever happened to you has been, there's no problem with it. There's no problem. That's your life and how your life has unfolded. When there's a deep seeing of that, nothing can diminish you. Like nobody's comments, nobody's opinions can diminish you. So in order to be able to move through the shadow work kind of efficiently, right? The bulk of the work, right? If you submerge yourself in every shadow work course or every, if you start getting kind of carried away with all that information, like you're going to go back into what's familiar from your childhood, into the energy of what's familiar from your childhood, so you will be less aware of it when it's moving, right? Because, okay, you might not understand codependency, for example. The dynamics of codependency might be hidden from you because that's literally all you knew. Because on some level, you felt the need to first of all, be connected to things that you didn't really want to be connected to. Maybe you felt the need to save people. Maybe you felt the need to fix people because your state of being, right, on some level, parts of you believe that your state of being dependent on how they feel, or that you are completely at the mercy of your environment, right? I used to feel like, well, like when I was around my parents, if they were in turmoil, I couldn't relax. I couldn't, because part of me believed that I couldn't relax. So then I woke up and I was like, wait a minute, I can. I can relax because I can choose to feel stable and be stable, because that's what I want, because that's who I am. I'm stability. I am, right? It doesn't matter what storms are in the environment, internally or externally. I have the ability to feel myself, my central channel, and anchor myself. Maybe put an anchor or a symbol in your root chakra and do the Kegel exercises to bring more consciousness into your root chakra, right? A lot of people have very vacant root chakras because for many reasons they don't fully want to be here. So what happens if you don't fully want to be here, which often has to do with being afraid of feeling, energy begins to eject. It begins to leave the system. And so you begin to lose feeling and awareness of certain parts of your chakra system, which is your psyche, right? You want to be aware, your root chakra is your presence and how you show up in the world. So you want to put your awareness there and consciousness there, and you want to be aware of how when you interact in the world, a part of you tries to leave, and then inquire why. Why do you try to leave? What do you believe about yourself? What are you afraid to feel? And then debunk the lie, which I go into in other videos. But, I mentioned that I read this beautiful book where Mother Mary, somebody channels, actually Mother Mary's mother? Yeah, Anna, grandmother of Jesus. And she said she would channel the angels for 2 hours every morning, even though she was already a master, even though she already lived for 800 years. Like, she still had this practice of merging herself with beautiful, service-oriented energies, right? She chose frequencies that would keep her healthy, keep her vital, keep her in her heart, right? I mean, she lived 800 years. Who knows what the heck she saw and everything she lived, right? So she was very wise, and she decided to tune into things. So like, the Buddha talks about the nutriments, right? The nutriments. What are you ingesting? At this point, most people have figured out to turn off the news, right? What music are you listening to? Music is so powerful. I acknowledge that music of all kinds can be used to move energy, to help you move certain emotions, even just to have fun. But what I noticed was, like, the higher my frequency becomes, the less I can tolerate certain music, because, messaging matters. What people say about women in their songwriting matters to me now. Like, it's like, I don't want to tune into that. I used to have a shirt. There's a brand called Wild Fox, and they make really soft t-shirts. And I don't know, it was like 8 years old or 10 years old shirt. I had a shirt that said Love Poison number 5, kind of like Love Potion number 5. And I was like, wait, this is not a message that I want to reinforce. I swear, I didn't think I would care about these things, but I just started to care. I started to care. Like, I care about the nutriments. I care about the messaging. I care about my environment. I care about, I really care about what I tune into. And so I recommend, frankincense, like really powerful grade frankincense and rose oil are, I don't know, maybe in the Kabbalah tradition they talk about this, but there's something about those frequencies that are just extremely, like, they facilitate openness, relaxation, a nourishing quality, just higher mind quality, especially the frankincense with the higher mind. The rose oil, I know Yogananda loved rose oil for some reason, but I love those oils, and I that's like what I wear. That's all I wear. I don't really wear other scents. And also, crystals, they do have properties, obviously, right? And if you're sensitive to energy, you can help yourself practice anchoring frequencies by finding a crystal that has a certain frequency that you want to memorize and anchor. Like this is called purpurite. And when I put it in my hand, especially my left hand, which is the receiving hand, I feel like two major things. It's like this happiness, but there's also a powerful connection. It's like a higher self connection. It's like this strong tube that goes up. And what it reminds me of is I have a friend. This is cool, right? It looks like a constellation or an animal. I have a friend who's an amazing channel. He channels his higher self, and he's a really gifted channel. And he told me, he said, Alex, when I'm channeling, I am more physically here than I am even in my way. And he's very grounded and present and aware. I mean, people have studied his mind, and he's very, his brainwaves, his baseline is like deep theta and spikes of delta, right, which is technically deep sleep. He said, he's like, Alex, so he's like very aware and his mind is very still, but he's still kind of floaty sometimes, right? We're all human and we've all got stuff, right? No matter how aware and how awake we are. But he said when he channels, he is more here. He is more acutely in his body than he is in his wake state. And I thought that was interesting because sometimes, there's different kinds of channeling. There's trance channeling where you literally leave, something else comes in, which is something that I do when I do this process called Rohan. Or people have this sensation of like literally going up, but he's like, no, my higher self, like, it's like I'm acutely here, but I'm so connected to it at the same time. And it's like radiating through all of my cells. And that's interesting to me because I am very much an advocate of ascension means going more deeply into the body. And what his statement to me indicates that the more deeply you go into the body, even the more mystical and strong your connection with the highest aspects of you become. For some reason, maybe I'll channel on that someday as to why that is, but the more deeply you go into your body, right? And so what I'm telling you is a key to help you begin to do that is to start to anchor frequencies. If your body doesn't feel safe to be in your body, start to create safety, right? First of all, the decision that you're safe is primary, right? I am safe. I'm sick of overwhelm. I'm sick of being like spun up in whirlpools of emotion. I'm sick of being at the mercy of my environment. I'm tired of that. Let's do this. Let's figure out how to be stable, how to be solid. And the universe will start to teach you how to do it, right? You feel your central channel as being this solid column, right? And you anchor it with your doing Kegel exercises, putting some awareness in the root chakra, and also feeling your legs and feet connected to the earth. And you just start to feel this sense of stability, and you can practice the sense of stability in a more vivid way. There's a meditation by Joe Dispenza. It's called Botek 3. So Blessings of the Energy Centers 3. And it uses symbols to anchor frequencies in the chakras. And it's awesome. And it's based off of, there's a practice that I believe is called Samyama in the Yoga Sutras, where yogis would meditate on a mountain and they would become very still and even like physically heavier, or they would meditate on a feather and they would become light and airy. And even Joe Dispenza has measured people doing this meditation. They get physically lighter if they choose a frequency like lightness or freedom or even nothingness, right? Just really being absorbed in the void. So that's a really great meditation to begin to practice this. And so choose frequencies that would be the proper medicine for each chakra. Like for me, in my second chakra, I don't do it anymore, but I would go between nourishment. So I would pick like usually a Mother Mary image, or I would tune into that order, this order of the scenes that I believe I had past lives with, because I really resonate with them. And I would, actually, there's an actual practice where you superimpose Mother Mary's womb on your womb. And I would do that, and I would feel this just deep love for my womb. And And that the second chakra is, it is the emotional. It's where most of your emotional chaos is. It's where it's where your inner child is, right? So it's essential in this world that we are capable and able to meet chaos with grace, because compared to where we come from before we become physical, like that this world is chaotic. Emotional energy is relatively chaotic. People's reactions and projections and the violence in this world is chaotic, and it is inside of us, lots of times in our second chakra. And so when you can bring a quality of nurturance, like of nurturing, and just this beautiful feminine love to that area, you can set up a frequency where you are setting yourself up for success, so that when you have a chaotic emotion, sometimes the reason why we disassociate, and which I'll talk about in another video, like we have these emotions that are chaotic, right? Whether it's spinning, whether it's confusion, spinning, confusion, overwhelm. And what happens is spirit tries to come in through there, and it ejects. It ejects because it's like the fan ejecting something out, because you have to be able to meet this whirlpool. You have to be able to meet the chaos with calmness and stability and grace, and it will slow down. Then it will slow down, and then it will become like a central channel for spirit to come in through, right? It's like you want to be able to meet the blocks in your psyche with grace and equanimity and stability. And sometimes if you don't know how to do that, it's very helpful to begin to practice the frequencies of stability, of nurturing, especially nurturing certain parts of yourself. If you've been terrified of chaos your whole life, well, guess what? You're gonna create chaos, because if it's inside you and you can't meet it and you can't transmute it, you will create chaos everywhere you go. You will burn bridges everywhere you go. You will burn shit to the ground everywhere you go. Real talk, okay? If you can't meet your chaos with grace, that's what happens. So work with oils, work with crystals, work with music, care about your nutriments, care about what you ingest, care about, if you are still looking for fights or looking for conversations or drama in your life, be aware of that and drop it, right? What are you ingesting? Are you ingesting conversations? Are you ingesting gossip? Are you ingesting conspiracy theories? And I'm not saying everything that people are saying about what's going on is a conspiracy, but there's an energy to that when people get too carried away with it, and it feels chaotic, right? You can acknowledge, like, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on, and you can respect the choices that you want to make for your body, and you respect yourself and others for the choices that they make, and that's the end of it. But be aware of what you're ingesting and choose deliberately what you're ingesting. As deliberate as you are with food, be that deliberate with your thoughts. Be that deliberate with anything that you connect with, because whatever you connect with, you literally merge with on some level. What you choose becomes part of you while you're choosing it. So it's like, even with sexual energy, what are you ingesting there? No judgment, right? I can't tell one human being how to move in this world, but what I will say is, when you merge with someone, their psyche and your psyche, they merge. So a lot of people go crazy in relationships. They don't know what's what and who's who, because nobody knows what they're feeling. They can't discern what they're feeling. And so you want to be really particular about who you merge with, right? What you choose to ingest in any way, shape, or form. That determines the quality of your energy, and the quality of your energy determines your ability to be able to spot and dissolve or alchemize the parts of you that are not in alignment with truth, that are not in alignment with love, with God, with self-realization. So, in a nutshell, the key to shadow work is light work. The key to shadow work is light. Light is frequency, is the frequency of love, is frequency of unconditional love, which is right here all the time. You just have to start to put your attention on it. It's putting your consciousness below your neck and starting to feel the joy of being alive. The joy, it's almost like if you tune into your cells, right, that they're almost singing. They're like, yes, is. It's so good to be here. There's like a song or like I don't know, it's almost like a childlike joy, right? That it's like so amazing to be alive. It's so amazing to be alive. I remember somebody sent me a book. It's called Channeling Eric. I think the boy, his name was Eric. He had committed suicide, and he was channeled by someone, came through from the other side, and he said, you know, one of the things that's so beautiful about being human is taste and touch. You know, because in the astral world, and if you've had an out-of-body experience, you know this, like there is a quality of touch, of merging, but it's different. It's like energetic merging. It's not as acute, it's not as defined, it's not the same thing as physical touch, right? Use physical touch like vitamin T to anchor yourself into the physical world. Like, don't just do a self-care routine of like going through emotions, like be so kind to yourself, like do some kind of sensual or just loving, caring massage. Like if you had a baby, right? Like, and they were like upset, how would you touch them, right? You would calm them down, you would bring them, you would channel a quality of nourishment to them. Do that for yourself. Be your own source, right? And that way, that will start to cure automatically like certain codependency patterns. That will start to get rid of your need to reach out to your ex, you know, because you will start self-sourcing and you will feel whole. Like the best, you know, one of the best frequencies to tune into is wholeness. Like close your eyes and feel whole. And feel what that feels like. What does wholeness feel like? Find that frequency. What does wholeness feel like? I've mentioned in another video that one of my clients met two women who regrew their thyroids. I had my thyroid removed from having cancer and my lymph nodes. And they regrew their thyroid and lymph nodes simply by isolating the frequency of wholeness and memorizing it and turning up the volume of that feeling in their experience. Their gland grew back. What are the implications of that? I don't know. I'm meditating on that, okay? I want to teach you how to tune into frequency, how to self-source, right? And while I talk about the shadow and how to be aware of it, and that's super important, that happens pretty effortlessly in the moment if you put more emphasis on the light work and the frequency. And so I wanted to share that from my heart this evening. It's really practical and useful, and I'll share more like ways to actually do it. Maybe I'll get some music, maybe we'll do it together. I don't know. We'll see. But I hope you have a beautiful evening. Thank you for tuning in, and you know, I look forward to seeing what comes through me, because I don't have like an idea of what I'm kind of just turning on the camera and talking, and whatever comes through. And so whoever's watching, right, whatever is on your mind or in your heart, if you activate it within you in a very poignant, focused way, perhaps I will receive something that might help you, right? Because I'm very sensitive and attuned to like anybody who's focused on me. So yeah, it would be like my love and pleasure to do that. So have a beautiful night.